Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Lucy, and I love Christ as my Lord and Savior. I think it's a continuation from where Brother Isaac left last time. Am I clear?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. So first is, okay, if I can come from where you left last time, there are a few points that I took. The first one was that a family is the first institution that God started. The other point that you mentioned is that a family is a government of God's kingdom. And then you cannot establish a family without sacrifice. The board of family is sacrifice. Men, you should love your wives sacrificially. And that is according to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. So in here, we can see that husbands have been commanded. It's not something that they do it willingly, but it has been told that husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church. So the first and foremost priority for a godly husband is to love his wife. And that is a command that has been given. So Paul provides a high standard for the love a husband should express to his wife. And the example is like Christ for the community of believers. Because we've been told that the husband is the hand of the government. A house is a government, although a family is a government which is headed by the husband. So the husband is the president of the family. And he has been told here that he should love. It's a command that has been given according to how God loved or Christ loved the family. So the husband should love the wife. So the husband's love should involve a deep, lifelong commitment and the willingness to make only sacrifices necessary to her behalf. So though a husband is the head of the family, that has been overlooked in most cases. And the emphasis to a husband, according to this verse, is like a command given to him that he must love his wife. And the other one is dedication. A good husband should dedicate his life to staying with his wife and be willing to die for his wife if need be. And then for a godly husband, according to this Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, what are the marks of a godly husband? So according to me, what I've seen is, what does it mean to be godly? And it means to reflect the character of God. Husbands are being asked to reflect the character of Christ, and that is in verse 25. Most people confuse godly with some positive characters. They think godly as being kind, generous, and patient. These characters can be part of being godly. But remember, you can have these characters and not being godly. So you can find a patient man, a kind man, but he's not godly. So to be godly man or husband who loves his wife like Christ does should first be in the right relationship with God. So our work can never save us because we are saved, but it is what is within us, what is in our hearts. Are we living a holy life? Are we having a good relationship with God? And that is the only thing that can make one live a godly life, to be faithful in what we do and in our relationship with God. And as a husband, according to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, there are those models that one should have, and your model should be Christ himself. As husbands, you have to be the spiritual leaders in your homes. you have to shepherd and love your wives as Christ loved and shepherded the church. Because now here, our example is Christ himself. Are we imitating how Christ was shepherding the church, all his believers? Is it the way that we who are representing Christ today, is it the way that we are being seen? So we should give a good example as how Christ was relating to the church. That is how we should display as the good examples for Christ. You cannot love and shepherd your wife perfectly unless Christ is your model or perfect example. As in 1 John chapter 2, verse 6, whoever claims to live in Christ must live as Christ did. And there are those marks of a good, godly person. First one is self-sacrificial. How do you sacrifice your life to serve the others? Or as a man, to serve your wife and to serve your family. So according to John 15, verse 13, it gives that example of self-sacrificial, that greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. So when a man says, I love my wife, do you love her enough as Christ loved the church? That is what one should ask yourself. Here we are referring to man because that is the emphasis that we are being given in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. It is referring mostly to the man because he is the head. And even in today's life, I follow my husband or I follow my father because he's the key figure here, as Jesus was the key figure in the beginning. So are we following or are we giving that sacrificial love like Christ did to the church? Also, Christ sacrificed himself for the church, and church is the bride here. So the Christ is Jesus, and the bride is the wife. So I mean, Christ here is the husband, and the bride is the wife. So is the husband tending to the wife as the Christ tended the church? So we should live that self-sacrificial life so that we can be able to show that love. If you are to love your wife like Christ loved the church, then it has to be self-sacrificial love. And the second one is that a serving husband, as Jesus served us. A husband is to serve the family, just as Jesus was serving the church. And that is in John 13, verse 15. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Husbands are to be the spiritual leaders at home. And that leadership is not dictatorial leadership, but a servant leadership. A godly husband needs to be a serving husband. You ought to put the needs of your wife above the needs of your own, just the same Jesus did. He put his life first. He sacrificed so much, and he served us, and he served that first church. So he did not find himself, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but consider others better than yourself. So do we sow our love, or do we love others more, or we love as we love ourselves? So husbands who are serving others, we should put their needs first before we put ourselves first. So we should love them the way we want us to be loved. So if we don't give love, we need it to be guided, even by the young ones. And then the last but not the least, is for the Holy Spirit.